Welcome into another episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I am Will Thomas, and today we're going to be going through each quarterback room in the SEC. Not just the starters. We're going to go through each quarterback room in the SEC, and I'm going to rank them all 1 through 16. Now, I'll clarify this 100 times just for the video to make sure it gets over. But, this is not a ranking of each team's starting quarterback. I'm factoring in the depth. I'm factoring in the guy who's number 2, who's number 3. Right, so just for example, this is a spoiler, but Mississippi State I have as my 16th quarterback room. Kamario Taylor is not my 16th best quarterback in the SEC. He is much higher than that. So just lay down that groundwork real quick for the criteria and what I'm doing. So let's just go straight into it. Let's get right into these quarterback room rankings. At number 1, I have the Ole Miss Rebels. Right, you have Trinidad Shambles coming back, who is a Heisman contender already in the preseason. He had just an electric fall last season, and I am a little bit worried, or just maybe less worried, more curious about how he looks without Charlie Weiss, without Lane Kiffin, right, and with new play callers, new staff around him. He returns a bunch of the weapons, so he'll still be very, very good. But really why I have Ole Miss at number 1 is also because they have Deuce Knight behind him. Deuce Knight was a former 5-star kid. He was at Auburn last season. He transfers over another team. When Hugh Freeze was fired, he hit the portal, and he comes over to Oxford behind Trinidad Chambliss. There was a picture of Trinidad and Deuce Knight together at practice, and my first thought was, there's a world in 5 or 10 years, we look back at this picture, and it's just the most impossible thing ever. Because both of these guys have, college football altering and NFL franchise altering potential. So Trinidad Chambliss and Deuce Knight top my quarterback room rankings in the SEC at number 1 with Ole Miss. And then number 2, I have Texas, right? And obviously a big part of that is Arch Manning and what I believe he can do this fall. Last year with Arch, the expectations were through the roof. His last name had a ton to do with that. And he didn't meet them immediately, so people were just going to throw it away. Right, but he got healthier as the year went on. He just got more experienced and more confident as the year went on. And you really saw him start to play much more like the Arch Manning we all thought we were going to get in the preseason last year. So for this season, I'm with all the weapons that are around him. I think he can be the best quarterback in the SEC. So I have Arch leading this room at number 2. And then behind him is KJ Lacey. He's a 4-star kid from Alabama. And he's good enough of an athlete as Lacey where if he has to be thrown in the game for whatever reason, he can cause problems. Right, even if a play breaks down and maybe even say he panics, I trust his legs to get you 7 yards on a broken play. So obviously Arch Manning leads the room. Massive reason why Texas is number 2 on this list for me. But KJ Lacey, I trust him a lot as some emergency depth if he is needed at any point this season. Number 3, I've got the Alabama Crimson Tide. And I sort of struggled a little bit with how high I should put Bama because I don't know who their starter is. But it doesn't really matter to me because whether it is Keelan Russell, whether it is Austin Mack, I'm pretty confident in what Bama's offense can do this year. That's because of how good those receivers are. And the running back room for Bama, it's a bunch of unproven guys, but the O-line should be better. That was a big problem on the running game last year. So then as a whole, I think Bama's offensive product upgrades. And Keelan Russell, it seemed like he had the better spring game. And I specify that because, the public only got to look at one practice. And Keelan Russell won that practice. So then in our minds, it's, Keelan Russell's playing better than Austin Mack. Austin Mack's probably winning 45% of the days minimum in spring practice, right? Both these quarterbacks are really good, but Keelan, the younger guy, the freak athlete, Austin Mack, a little bit more experience. He came in during that Rose Bowl against Indiana when Ty Simpson was down, and he played pretty well, all things considered. So I do think whichever quarterback it is for Bama, Russell or Mack, they're in a good spot. And it's because of that depth where I trust both guys to be a starter for Alabama. That's why I have them all the way up at number 3. And then at number 4, I have the Georgia Bulldogs. I think Gunnar Stockton is just such a known commodity, right? Now, I've talked about how he's not really going to make you say wow very often. He's just not. He's not really an explosive athlete. He's not, this highlight reel guy, but you know exactly what you're getting with him. You're getting the right decisions. You're getting on-time deliveries. You're getting good reads. He's such a known commodity where I can trust him in any situation. So he's a big reason why Georgia's at number 4 for me. And then behind him is Ryan Puglisi. He's a former top 10 quarterback in his class coming out of Connecticut. He's 6'3", 205, so he has a really good frame. Georgia, not even just Puglisi, there's a bunch of other just blue chip quarterbacks in that room. So the overall depth of it, plus how much I know I can trust Gunnar Stockton, is why I've got them up at number 4. Then at number 5, my 5th favorite quarterback room in the SEC are the Oklahoma Sooners. It's led by John Mateer. And, this past week after the Manning Passing Academy, you're seeing what Mateer looks like, almost a year removed from his hand injury in that surgery. He looks much better physically. He's changed his mechanics up a little bit. I'm very excited now about what John Mateer can do, both on the ground and in the air, because I think the receiver room is deeper than it was last year. And the running back room is pretty similar talent wise, but it's guys who are coming back. They're returning, and they're ready to have better years than they did last season. And then behind him is Whit Neubauer, who was formerly at Mercer. He came to Oklahoma last season, had barely had any reps. He's 6'6". He's 6'6", 231. So he is a massive body in the pocket. So I trust the ceiling of that being that size in the pocket, being just a true pocket passer is incredibly valuable. So you kind of have Mateer, who's obviously will be the starter, and he can run more. But Neubauer, if you need him, he can be that big frame who can just take a snap and make a confident pass downfield. So I've got Oklahoma up at number 5 for me. Then at number 6, here come the LSU Tigers. Sam Leavitt obviously is the top guy in that room. Lane Kiffin went out and got him from Arizona State. I have my own concerns about Leavitt that I've voiced, but he's still a good player, right? His floor is plenty good enough to have a good season. But really why I have LSU so high is because Hussein Longstreet is also in that room. He came in from USC in the portal this past year, just a former 5-star guy, right? So he's a pretty elite depth piece at quarterback. And my concerns with Leavitt, just to voice him again, injuries, he's kind of always been a little bit banged up, and there's just so much new for him. He missed spring. I'm worried about that. But I have plenty of faith that Hussein Longstreet, if needed, could handle a few drives. Right? If Leavitt just needs a break, maybe he's beat up, maybe he just needs some time to get comfortable. I trust Longstreet there as LSU's backup. So for that reason, I've got LSU up here in the top half at number 6 in my quarterback room. Then at number 7, I have Eli Drinkwitz's Missouri Tigers. They bring over Austin Simmons from Ole Miss, who just people forget because of how good Shambles was. He was good enough to be their starter last year. Lane looked at his team. He knew what he had. Charlie Weiss looked at the team, knew what they had. And they said, Austin Simmons is good enough for us to do what we want to do this year. But then he got hurt, and Shambles was as good as he was, so people just kind of forgot about him. Austin Simmons is a really good player. And now he'll be healthy. He's in a Missouri offense that has some of the best running backs in the entire country, a ton of promising pieces at receiver they portaled in. I'm really excited for what Simmons can do this year. And behind him is Matt Zollers. Right? Zollers got some good run for the Tigers last year when Bo Pribula was injured. So was it great? Not really, but I do know that, as far as backups go, I have a guy in Zollers who, very, very young last year, got some experience, got some reps, kind of knows what he's looking at now. So even if he isn't the best player, and I'm not super high on him, I know I have relatively experienced depth there. So I've got Missouri up here in the top half as well at number 7. And then number 8, here I have Texas A&M. Now this is one of those that I'm afraid people are going to misunderstand what I'm saying. Marcel Reed is not as low as the 8th best quarterback in the conference for me. He is higher than that. But in terms of the totality of the room, I've got A&M here at 8. Obviously, with Marcel, you're looking for a bit of a step in terms of consistency passing the ball. Right? Just, we know that the floor for him, he kind of has the ability to collapse a little bit. The first half against South Carolina, a lot of bad football. The game against Miami, bad weather, tons of wind, not great football. But the ceilings are great. The ceilings are awesome with Marcel Reed. So if he can just become more consistent and that ceiling becomes much more of what we get on a regular basis, he can be elite. And then behind Marcel is Brady Hart. Right, so this is Brady Hart, another reason why I kind of have A&M a little bit lower, even though I'm so high on Reed. Just a 3-star guy from Florida. He is 6'4", so he's got good size, but I don't really know what I'm getting in Brady Hart. Right, I know that he was a decent recruit, but he wasn't like this superstar high prospect who's just kind of waiting his turn to be the next leader of the Aggies. So for those reasons, I've got A&M down at number 8. And then number 9, same story. I have South Carolina. Lenore Sellers is higher than 9th for me in the conference, but as a room, this is where I've got him. I think that you could see Carolina get back to 2 years ago, this fall on offense. There's that potential. Right, 2 years ago, nobody seems to remember this because they were so bad last year. They won 9 games, and they had a decent case. They were talked about in the committee room when they were selecting the playoff field. They were talked about. Lenore Sellers has that in him, and the offense around him this year, I think, is way better. The receiving options are incredible. I'm worried about the running game. I don't know how healthy Jacarius Peak is going to be at offensive tackle. So Sellers is going to have a better year. Hopefully, he can have another elite year because that was so fun to watch 2 years ago. And then behind him is Cutter Woods. He's a homegrown 3-star recruit out of Anderson, South Carolina, which is actually really close to Clemson, but Shane Beamer took him and brought him down to Columbia. He's 6'3", 204, decent frame, but once again, I don't really know if I can trust Cutter Woods if I need to, so I've got Carolina down here at number 9. My 10th favorite quarterback room in the SEC this year is the Gators, Florida Gators. Aaron Philo and Tramel Jones. Those two guys are battling it out. Aaron Philo obviously comes over from Georgia Tech. He was not their starter last year. Haynes King was. But they were ready to hand the keys over to Philo before Faulkner got hired by Summerall, Florida. So Philo and Faulkner have great relationship. They know each other, they're comfortable with each other. And then Tramel Jones, who was at Florida last year, we saw him get some good run when Lagway was either banged up or just benched. Right? And we know that Tramel Jones' ceiling is there. He hasn't had much time to try and reach it. So both guys are relatively unproven, but both guys are talented. So I've got them at number 10 in the SEC. Then at number 11, I have Tennessee Vols. And this was like, you could argue that Tennessee could be up as high as 7, and I really wouldn't have that much to fight you about. It's George McIntyre and Faison Brandon. Starting off with McIntyre, he was a 4-star in last year's class. He is 6'6". He had kind of been a little like leaning the favor for the job, but it seems really 50-50 right now as we head into the summer. And obviously, Faison Brandon, elite prospect, one of the top overall recruits in the country last year. He is a true freshman. Why I've got him down here at number 11 is because redshirt freshman McIntyre, true freshman Faison Brandon. Bunch of just two young guys who just haven't played that much football. So because of all of that unknown, I have him down here lower, but I think that Brandon can be great. I think George McIntyre can also be just about great because of how good Josh Heupel's system is on offense. So I have really high hopes for the Vols quarterback room, but because of just how much unknown, how young they all are, I've got them down here at number 11. Yeah, number 12, I have the Kentucky Wildcats. I'm very excited about Kentucky. Kenny Minchey is better than the 12th best quarterback in the league to me, but as a whole room, I've got them down here because Minchey, right, kind of what I talked about with Tennessee. Minchey, I think, is a really good quarterback. He hasn't really done it, though. He was behind CJ Carr last year. He hasn't been a full-time starter yet in his career, so there is that degree of unknown. I have trust in what he can do, but that degree of unknown, I've got to penalize him for it a little bit. And then behind Minchey is Matt Ponatowski, who is a 4-star quarterback from Cincinnati. He's a pocket passer, really not much of a ground game in his high school days, so I don't really know what I'm getting out of Ponatowski. And Kenny Minchey, I think I know what I'm getting, but he's very unproven. He hasn't been a consistent starter yet, so I've got Kentucky down at number 12. At number 13, here I have the Auburn Tigers. And this one, I really thought about putting up a little higher, maybe above Kentucky, maybe above Tennessee, but I have him down here for right now. And that is because the Byron Brown thing, I love him as a player. He's such a good player. His ceiling, when he's clicking, is so high. He has had injury problems in the past. And that just happened at the American level. So when you're getting hit by bigger, faster, stronger athletes all the time, I do have a couple of questions about, are we really going to get Byron Brown for 12 games? Can he actually play 48 quarters of football this year? I just don't know about that. And I also don't know how his game, just straight up, translates to the SEC. But then behind Byram is Tristan Tia, who transferred over from Oregon State. He's 6'2", 205, got a little bit of experience last season, but with Tia coming over from the West Coast, this is obviously a massive elevation in competition for him as well. So really why I have Auburn knocked is because neither guy has done it at really a level close to this before. And just Byron Brown, my biggest concern with him is durability, but also just past that, can he develop as a passer? We've seen him be a little inconsistent at times. Can he amp that up a little bit? Moving now behind Auburn to number 14, I have the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, this one kind of hurt to put him at 14 too because I am so excited about what both of their options can be. KJ Jackson, who's pictured, is 6'4", 220, got a little bit of experience last season, and AJ Hill is behind him, who is 6'4", 215. He was a blue chip guy who was at Memphis with Ryan Silverfield, and now he's up there in Fayetteville. You go from Taylor Green at Arkansas to two more guys who aren't quite the same size, aren't quite the same degree of freak of nature, but they're pretty similar, right? They're pretty close. So the potential of both KJ and AJ Hill is awesome to me, but in terms of this season, I'd rather have a lot more rooms than those two guys just because of the lack of experience. And frankly, just like, I'm not sure how much they can really do at Arkansas specifically this fall. So that's why I have Arkansas at number 14. At number 15, I had the Vanderbilt Commodores. They obviously bring in Jared Curtis, who was the top quarterback in last year's class, a 5-star kid, true freshman, right, at a place in Vanderbilt that is coming off their best year ever. Can he really just step in? Can he replace Diego Pavia, who changed Vanderbilt football entirely? It's a lot of responsibility to ask a true freshman to do, no matter how highly rated they were. Even though at their spring game, I did believe that Curtis looked the most physically ready and just mentally ready as well. He should be the starter. But behind him, if he's not, it's Blaise Berlowitz. He's a junior this year. He spent a little bit of time in 2023 at New Mexico State, but now he's been at Vanderbilt since. A little bit of experience last year behind Diego Pavia. Really not, I wouldn't necessarily trust him as a starter at this point. So because true freshman Jared Curtis and Berlowitz, who I'm not really sure is ready to be a starter, I'm getting all the way down at number 15. And I teased this earlier, but Mississippi State is my 16th best quarterback room in the conference. It is not because I don't believe in what Kamari Taylor can do. I believe he can be a total game wrecker. Right? He's 6'4", 230. He's really fast. He has a strong arm. Where does the arm throw the football? How accurate is it? How consistent is it? And can he stay healthy? He had that scary looking injury in the bowl game last year against Wake Forest. He should be all good to go, but just that's something that's kind of been in the back of my mind. And then behind Kamari Taylor is AJ Swan. He doesn't really do a whole lot for me. He was at Appalachian State most recently, but also has stops at LSU and Vanderbilt. He's really experienced, but he's never gotten over 1,500 yards in a season. He's had like 3 or 4 years where he's broken 1,000, never gotten up to 1,500. So AJ Swan doesn't really move very much. And Kamari Taylor, I just kind of want to wait and see before I get too excited about what he can be at Mississippi State. So that'll do it. Those are all 16 SEC quarterback rooms ranked, the rooms in totality, not just the starters. I will make another video starting ranking just the starters, which I'm sure will get much more controversy because there's a ton of really good quarterback play this year in the SEC. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. If you have been enjoying all my college football content, subscribe to me here and follow me on Twitter. I'm doing daily SEC college football previews until we kick off in August. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.